What? A home sale? Great question. Great question. Okay, so some people may say, well, I don't make that kind of money. I'm not at risk of having to pay IRMAA. Well, it can sneak up on you sometimes, like the sale of an asset. Now, the sale of a home is less likely to trigger this than the sale of other types of assets. And the reason is because you're going to have some capital gains exemption on your home. So unless you've just got like a massive appreciation in your home value, then it's probably not going to affect your bottom line on your tax. So if you sell your home, $250,000 capital gains exemption on the sale of your home. If there's a couple together, it's $500,000 capital gains exemption. So that doesn't affect your bottom line like selling a shopping center would or selling some stocks. But those sorts of things could cause a spike in your modified adjusted gross income for 1 year. Another thing that might happen is that you retire and your financial advisor says, you know what, you're in a lower tax bracket now than you were before. Therefore, this is a good opportunity for you to take that IRA or 401k that you've been contributing to all these years and do a Roth conversion. Well, guess what? It's a taxable event. I did that a couple of years ago, wrote a great big fat check to the IRS. That would have put me in the IRMAA category for that 1 year. They're going to reevaluate this every year. It's a cyclical thing. Once you're a couple of years beyond this, it doesn't tend to affect most people. Sometimes I get people, though, that they just have to pay it. They're like, hey, you know what? It's not the biggest problem in the world. I'm not gonna structure my whole life around avoiding IRMAA. But if that affects you, there may be some opportunities to help you with it. We'll talk about it. All right. Part B, we said, has a monthly premium. With that monthly premium, the first time you use it during the year, you're going to pay a $257 deductible. That's an annual deductible. After that, Part B pays 80% of your doctor bills. You think about it, that's really good insurance. $185 a month. Government pays 80% of my doctor bills. That means you're responsible for 20%. Problem with that is that there's no maximum. There's no cap on that. There's no ceiling. So how quickly can you run up $100,000 in medical bills? Just like that. A little over a year ago, my wife had emergency hernia surgery. Now, this is a lady who hardly ever goes to the doctor. She just doesn't. And in 1 week of 1 year, $70,000 annual. But that's a one-time a year, annual per person. Yeah. Medicare is always individual insurance. So everything that we talk about is this, unlike group health coverage that you've had before, where there was, families and dependents and all of that stuff. Whenever we're talking about Medicare, it's always individual. In 1 week of 1 year, she got $70,000. That would have been a lot. My son, about 10 years ago, had an automobile accident. I get people say, "Oh, I'm all healthy. I'm not worried about that." Hey, this guy looked like Michael. He was a Marine. 5 years in the Marine Corps, came out, and he was 5 minutes from work, on his way to work, got T-boned at an intersection. Life flighted to Memorial Hermann to the shock trauma ICU, traumatic brain injury. $1 million later, God's good grace to us, he's doing well. You don't want that to happen to you when you're 65 years old, because that's going to scramble your nest egg. So we need to mitigate that somehow. And we're going to do that in one of two ways. You're either going to do that with an Advantage plan, or you're going to do that with a Medicare supplement. And I'm going to explain both of these to you tonight. This is the Medicare fork in the road right here. You're going to go one way, or you're going to go the other way. And depending upon your circumstances, they're both legitimate pathways. Depending upon your circumstances, you're going to decide what is the best course for you. Before we go there, let's talk about Part A. How does that work? Part A, we said, is hospital coverage. If you go to the hospital, it's going to cost you $1,676 for a hospital deductible. How do I know that? Because it doesn't matter what hospital that you go to. You can go to Baylor, Scott and White. You can go to, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's going to be $1,676. And that's not an annual deductible. That's a deductible per benefit period. Now that begs the question, what is a benefit period? Any of you guys engineers? Oh, good. I can tell my engineer jokes. Can we? I raised one. I know what they're like. He's over there going through all the papers and stuff, reading everything. Okay, so Peter's wondering, what is a benefit period? A benefit period begins when you're admitted to the hospital and it ends 60 days after you're discharged from the hospital. So could we have more than one benefit period in a year? We sure could. But I'm going to tell you, if you have to pay the $1,676 more than once during a year, that's a drag. You're not going to want to do that. Once you pay 60 days after you're discharged. So if you go back in the hospital 45 days later, you're fine. You don't have to pay the $1,676 again. But if you go back 61 days later, you got to pay it all over again. It doesn't matter. It can be two different things, but if you go back to the hospital, you don't have to pay it. If it's beyond the 60 days and you go back, even if it's for the same problem, you have to pay it over again. Yeah, Leonard. You need to talk with your benefits people about it to see what the coordination of benefits is like. But in most cases, that is the case. That is true. So you can go ahead and take Part A. They probably want you to, because they want to offload responsibility for our hospital onto the government. You could hold off on taking Part B until the time is right for you. And you're going to come away from here tonight with a better sense of what that
Medicare plan